to Cat at Home. Today I will be talking to you about compact wheel loaders for the Caterpillar range. My name is Elie Abi-Karam. I work in the Desford facility in the UK. So I'm based just outside Leicestershire, and we build the backhoe loaders and the compact wheel loaders for Caterpillar in that factory. I've been working for Caterpillar for about 20 years now. I've had the privilege of working on a lot of our products, and I am now the product specialist for compact wheel loaders. What I'm going to show you today is the whole range of loaders that we work on. I'm going to show you here, to start with, we have a lot of wheel loaders in the Caterpillar range. I'm sure most of you are aware of Caterpillar and how we build big, large construction equipment and mining equipment. On this slide here, you can see a small shadow of a person, and on this person here, it gives you the scale of these machines. On the right-hand side, you see large mining quarry equipment. Then we go to medium-sized wheel loaders, where we use those in mines, in aggregate sites, and moving a lot of material all day, every day. Then we get into the small wheel loaders, and we did a Cat at Home a few weeks ago with my colleague Tom McBuntin, where he talked about the small wheel loaders and some of the applications those are worked in. And today we're going to talk about the compact wheel loader, so the two smallest sizes here. So what you'll see here is that we have a 906 7 and 8 machine, which is our smallest of machines we have in the range in Europe and Africa, Middle East. And then we have the 910, the 914 and 918, soon to be 920 machines as well. So as we move on, I need to explain to you the difference between these machines. And one of the things we have is the machine weight and size, and we also have performance. So we start off with our 906, our 907 and 908 machines. These are our lowest spec machines. They're the lightest machines that we have in our range in this region. Then we move on to the 910, the 914 and the 918 and 20. So those machines, the engine sizes are getting bigger. The hydraulic power is getting bigger. And with that, you can pick up more material. You can move more dirt. You can load more trucks. And you become more efficient at working in your industry. Sometimes you need a small machine because you need to be able to drive around and get in and out of small spaces. Sometimes you need a larger machine because of the application you're working on. But within the Caterpillar range of compact wheel loaders that I'm talking about today, we have a whole range of these machines, and we have the right machine for the right application and the right price. So now, if we look at the 906, the 907 and 908. In this, we have a lot of features and a lot of options, and I'm going to just touch on a few of the main key points that I want you to take away and remember and think about if you're ever wanting to buy a machine or operate a machine, and what you want to think about when you're comparing our machines with some of our competition. So at the front of the machine, we have a bucket or a work tool or an attachment. Now, there's a whole range of attachments that you can attach to the front of the machine, and this is actually what does the work. So we like to talk about task, tool, machine. So the task is, what are you going to do? Are you going to move mud or stone? Are you clearing snow? Are you moving pallets of bricks around? Do you need to cut trees down or mow grass or level ground? So all of those types of tasks, you need to think about what type of applications you're working in, and then you decide on what tool you need. So the next thing is you need to attach that attachment or tool to your machine. So we have something called a quick coupler. This enables you to drive up to the machine, drive the machine up to the attachment, hook it in, click a button in the machine, and you're then connected and you can go and do your work. For this size machine, we have 3 different couplers available, 2 horizontal and 1 vertical skid steer style coupler. Now with that, it means that you can mix and match attachments or applications with different machines, and it gives you more versatility. Now, a very important section of the machine. This is the loader arm, or the front linkage. So we have the main frame, and we have this loader arm, which has 2 cylinders on either side and 1 at the top. We have a tilt cylinder and the lift cylinders. Now, why is this important? This is transferring the movements of your joystick in the cab to the operation of the attachment at the front of the machine. Now, Caterpillar has something called an optimized Z-bar linkage. If you look at the image, you have a cylinder, it then goes diagonally down, and then it goes horizontally to attach the coupler and the attachment. This linkage, the pin layout of the position and the kinematics that this produces, we have optimized for breakout force of the amount of dirt you can dig, but also how parallel the loader arms can be. So if you're lifting and lowering material, you get parallelism and breakout forces. We also optimize for visibility. We also optimize for the type of machine and applications that we're working on. Now, this linkage is a patented linkage. We have this all the way from the 906 all the way up to the largest loaders you saw on the previous slide. We then move on to the cab. So on the cab, or the operator station, this is where the operator sits all day, every day, doing their work. It's like an office. So inside this cab, we pay a lot of attention to the ergonomics of the machine, of the operator. We take a lot of feedback from customers and operators to make sure that when we design these operator stations and cabs, the operator is the most important part of that equation. We want them to be safe, secure, comfortable, have everything where they need it, make sure the visibility to the controls and out of the machine, forwards to the attachment and to the rear for when you're reversing, driving around your site or on the road, is all optimized. In this machine, you have a steering wheel and 1 brake pedal and 1 accelerator pedal. And so with that, you are driving just like you would on a car. So if you can drive a car, you can drive a wheel loader. When we move on a bit further, we have the rear of the machine, we have an engine bay. So inside here, we currently have a diesel engine, which is a stage 5 equivalent for our HRC regions for Europe, the US and Japan. But we also have a different engine power for the lesser regulated countries in Africa, Middle East, and Eurasia. Inside there, we also have cooling, hydraulics, which basically drives the machine and operates the machine to the most efficient way that it can. Then another important part of this machine at the back of the end is the counterweight. So this needs to be weighted at the correct level to ensure that the attachments or buckets you put on the front of the machine is balanced. If you put a bucket at the front or try and lift something too heavy, your counterweight is what balances your machine like a seesaw. You want to make sure the balance is set correctly to make sure that you're driving correctly and operating correctly on uneven ground and when driving along a road. One thing I will say from a Caterpillar perspective, if you are interested in buying a wheel loader, I would fully recommend you contacting your local dealership and getting a demonstration and a trial and operation of one of these machines. You will find that some of the competition that we have will have spec sheets with full turn tipping loads and machine capabilities. And sometimes those spec sheets, and you look at ours, they won't match up and you might decide you want to buy another brand. What we recommend is you take the time, do a trial, operate the machine, and I'm very confident that our dealerships will be able to provide you a machine that is capable within your price range and your application profile, and you will get the machine that you need, and you'll be very happy with that choice. Moving on, these machines oscillate and articulate, and what that means is that when you're driving the machine, instead of the front wheels turning, the machine will articulate around the middle section of the machine. So there's a pin in the middle of here that articulates. So as you steer, the cylinder will make the machine move, and the machine will drive around and turn left and right as needed. Now this is the same on all of our wheel loaders, from the smallest to the largest. So that is our articulating hitch. On this size machine, we also oscillate, so it rotates left and right. So if you're going over a bump or uneven ground, all the tyres will stay on the ground for a safer, more comfortable ride, but also maintaining the safety for the operator and for everyone around him or her. Axles and wheels, these are very important to drive your machine safely. We have a lot of options for tyres, different applications, solid tyres for waste and recycling, to wider tyres for flotation on muddy ground. Also within the cab, we have an option, which again is something that we have in all of our wheel loader range, which is rim pull control, which basically means that as you drive along, and if your wheels start to spin, you're basically losing power to doing the work, do the digging or moving the material. So you can control from inside the cab the amount of slip that you have on that machine, on the tires, which will save you money in not rubbing and wearing the tires out, but also being more fuel efficient and getting the work done. Lastly on this slide, auxiliary hydraulics. So just at the front of the machine, there's 2 hydraulic hoses or 4 hydraulic hoses, depending on your option, and an electrical connection. And this will attach to an attachment on the front of the machine. And on my next slide, I'll talk through some of the reasons and some of the attachments you could use with that hydraulics. So these machines can be used in lots of applications. We have construction, where you could use forks and blades and brooms to prepare sites and to help the construction of buildings. Road construction, we have coal planers, which will dig up the tarmac or concrete of the road. Wheel saws for laying down thin, narrow trenches to put cables and utility hoses and pipes in. We have mixing buckets to mix aggregates and concrete and animal feed, for example. Land management, so we have grass cutters, mulchers, brush cutters, power box rakes, so we can level, we can manage the ground for any type of application. We go into agricultural type applications where we have bale spears and bale grabs to be able to move material around farms, grapple buckets and forks. We have augers for making holes for posts and signs and lighting. Then we move on to snow removal. These machines are very good at snow removal, driving along the road, ploughing with snow plows, or using a snow blower to blow the snow out to the side, or a range of buckets sized correctly for the density of the snow, which enables you to move the most amount of snow most efficiently. Then we get onto landscaping, where we have 2D and 3D blades that you could use on a skid steer. We can also use those on the compact wheel loaders without the technology, a lower spec, but it's still operational. We have trenchers, we have mixing buckets, tillers, and material handling arms. So I have a picture of the machine we're talking about today, the 906, 7, and 8. But this machine shares a lot of DNA and a lot of operations as our other machines, the compact wheel loaders and compact track loaders that you see here on the left. Now, these tools that I've just talked about all fit on both of these machines. There are certain options and certain sizes of these attachments that are better optimized for the machine on the left, and there are other tools that are optimized and for the performance on the machine on the right. So you have choices of machines, you have choices of attachments for all of these different types of applications. I'll move on now to the larger machines. So in this larger machine, again, we'll talk through some of the applications features. At the front, we have a bucket. We had a bucket on the other machine. So one thing I'm going to talk about here is this bucket is what we call a performance series bucket. This has been designed and has Caterpillar patents on this design to enable you to optimize the amount of material that you're going to pick up. In conjunction with the optimized Z-bar linkage, this bucket can pick up 110% of its normal capacity. So if this bucket could pick up 2 cubic meters of material, you could add 10% to that figure, which enables you to operate quicker and move material better than you would with a competitive machine. On this machine, we also have couplers. You have the option to pin on an attachment. So if you're going to change the tools very infrequently, you could attach a bucket with pins, which is the least efficient way of doing it for versatility, but does optimize the amount of material you can pick up because it reduces the weight of the machine at the front end. We also have 3 different styles of couplers on here: an IT, an ISO, and a fusion coupler. All have their pros and cons. They have different applications, different regions that prefer one to the other, but those options are available, which helps you with mixed fleets, both within Caterpillar ranges and with competitive machines. We have the front linkage, again, optimized Z-bar linkage. This linkage has another feature added to this, which is rotary sensors. So attached to some of the components on this machine, we have electronic sensors which can track and monitor the position of the pins and the loader arm at any given time. And what that can do is that gives the operator the capability within the cab to memorize a position. So they can memorize a position near the ground, maybe 1 or 2 centimeters above the ground. They can click a button and it will memorize that position. And without trying, they can just move the joystick and the machine will reposition the loader arm to that exact position every time, which means that you wouldn't be damaging the ground, or you would be wearing out some of the metal on the front of the bucket less. You can also set it at the top height of the machine. So if you have a certain height of truck that you want to, or if you're working inside a building, you can make sure that you never hit the roof, or you always get that into the same position. You also have the option to flip into a mode where you can slow down and speed up the aggressiveness of the application. So if you're using forks and lifting and lowering like a forklift truck, you can make all the motions slower and more smooth. And if you're digging in clay and you need to shake the bucket to get rid of material, you can make it more aggressive. That is something that we have added to our machines through the range, from the largest to the smallest. At the moment, these 9, 10, 14, 20 size machines will be the machines you can get that on in these compact wheel loaders. But in the future, the smaller machines will get that as an option. Coming into the cab, this cab is the same cab as we had on the 906, 7, and 8. There are a few extra features in there to do with the rotary sensors and some of the other features that we've added inside there. But fundamentally, it's the same environment, the same way of operating. So if you get to a small machine, a large machine, you know what's going on. Engine bay, similar to the other machines, we have different engine styles for different regions of the world. We also have counterweights on this machine, slightly more configurable than the smaller machines, so you can add some counterweights if needed to suit your application. On this machine, we have our articulation in the middle, as on the previous machine. But if you drive over bumps and uneven grounds, the rear axle will oscillate up and down to maintain all the tires on the ground. Just a slightly different way of doing this on the larger machines. Again, wheels and tires and axles have lots of options to pick from to make sure that you're suited to the applications. And once again, you get to the hydraulics. And again, that will be able to power brooms, snow plows, and other things like that on the front of the machine. Now, what I want to touch on here briefly is we have our current generation of machines from the 906 to the 918 are M series. So on our machines, you'll see the name of the machine plus an M at the end. The 9, 10, 14, and 20 are going to be coming out very soon. So if you have any need for a new machine in this size class, you can talk to your dealers and they'll be happy to take orders for these machines that are going to be built in the next few months. So these machines, we have increased the capacity of the 918 and turned it into a 920. So this gives you 10% more power, 5% more power in the engine, but 10% more payload or material that you can load at the front end. So we've boosted up the machine capabilities to ensure people are getting the machine that we need to compete against some of the competitors that we have in this size class. We also have machines that are specified for different applications, like aggregates, moving stone and quarries, and waste handlers for municipal and domestic waste. We have machines configured with all the options that are needed for those. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move over to cat.com. And so cat.com is our website that we have that is open to anyone to go and view. So you go www.cat.com. What I want to show you is where our details are in here. So if I click on this, I will click onto equipment. I go into equipment, and there is a lot of Caterpillar products. So all the way through the product ranges, you'll see that Caterpillar has one of the largest portfolios of equipment in the world. What you'll see in your page will be the equipment that's available in your region. So I'm going to click on wheel loaders. I come into the wheel loaders. If you remember my first slide, I showed you the large wheel loaders, the medium wheel loaders, the small wheel loaders, and the compact wheel loaders. You can select which size you want to look at. So in this example here, I'm going to select a 906 ag handler. So this is a machine that we're specified up for working in the farm applications. So you get a nice view of like the high level specifications. You can click here to jump down through the pages. It's set up to be able to be visualized and looked at on PCs, but also on phones and tablets. So in here, you can see we have images of the machines and some descriptions of the machine or what it's doing. So here you can see it's using one of those bale handlers that we showed that can also be used on the skid steer. Then you move through aggregates. So this is showing a machine working in stonework, truck loading, showing you the height and the position of the machine, dumping into a truck on a work site. A view from the cab. So when you're inside the cab, you're looking out at the machine. You can see to the front of where you are working. You've got the roading lights on either side, so you can drive down the road and work at night. There are work lights on the top of the cab as well. So as we keep moving down, you'll see a lot of specifications that you can expand. So you can look at engine powers, you can look at capacities and specifications. It will also show you other machines that are in the range. So the standard 906 machine or the next size up for the 907. We can keep going down. You could look at a brochure. So if you want a detail sent to you by your local dealer, you can fill in some details and they'll contact you. Or you can click a link and it will open up a spec log that will open up, and you can then see all the details that you could print off and take away. Something else you can do is you can see all these photos and videos of the machine in action. A lot of these videos will take you to a YouTube channel where a lot of our videos are stored. But what you can also see here is you can get a lot of material. It will be similar for all of the different types of machines, whether it's the compact wheel loaders or backhoes or telehandlers or mini excavators or the large trucks. You'll also find at the bottom related products. So here you'll find different types of attachments that are available. So if I move from that and I go back to a higher page, I'll go back to the wheel loaders section. As I come down here, you can see you can also click to compare. So you can click on 2 or 3 different machine models to compare the sizes to see if there's any information you need to compare. So if I now pick one of the larger machines, again, configured for success, we have our engine power, the maximum weight of the machine, the capacities of buckets, standard buckets that we have available. Again, applications working, filling hoppers in a materials handling situation. We have applications where you can see what the machine can do. You can see the specs of how it works. As we come down here on this model here, we have a 3D generated image. So on this image, I can rotate the machine around and I can zoom into this so I can see more clearly. Earlier I talked about the rotary sensors on this machine. We have a rotary sensor here at the front of the linkage, and we have another rotary sensor up here at the back of the linkage, and this is what enables us to manage our performance and the different functions to enable to give the operators more efficiency in that machine. You also have the opportunity to look inside the cab. So this gives you a view inside the cab where you can see the joysticks. Again, if I click, I can zoom in. You can see the steering wheel, the brake pedal and the accelerator pedal. And then you have your joystick. And then you have all the switches and dials on the machine. So these are available for you to look at on your own PCs or tablets. You can investigate and research the machines that you want. And when you come to a conclusion, if you want to purchase a machine, you can contact your dealership to have a look at a machine and hopefully trial a machine. As I said, if you sit in a machine and trial the machine, it's going to give you the best view of how that machine is going to behave. So with that, I will move to some questions. I think there's been quite a few questions coming in through the discussions. So the questions about maintenance. So on our machines, we have always designed our machines to try and reduce the operating costs and the maintenance costs for our owner operators. When you open up the engine bays, all the engine bays have got very well laid out locations for the daily maintenance of checking oils, filters, and things like that. So I think if you were to look online, you'll find all that material. You go to the YouTube channels, you'll find some material. Later on, I'll post some shortcuts to that in the chat history so that you can see some of the maintenance access that we have on the machines. Do you have a WorkTools product line? Yes. So from a WorkTools perspective, if I just come back into the cat.com, so if I come up back into cat.com, there was equipment I went into, but if I go into attachments, Caterpillar has a very large range of attachments to match the different machines that we have in the range. So you can see here we have augers, backhoe attachments, we have brooms, there's a whole range of buckets. Always remember there's a button at the bottom of each of these pages to say more. We have mowers for cutting grass, we have grapples for waste and recycling, hydraulic hammers for breaking material. All of these attachments are available either ex-factory from our production facilities or available via our worldwide part system. So if you have a requirement for an attachment, you talk to your dealer. Most of these attachments are available in stock and would be able to be shipped and added to your machine very easily. All of these attachments are also tailored and bespoke. They're bespoke and tailored to match the machine performance. So for coal planers, for example, we have coal planers. We have lots of machines available, and we have a lot of coal planers available. So in here, you'll probably find about 15 or so different coal planers to match the different size of machines or the type of application that you're going to work with. So very good question. We do have a very large, extensive range of Caterpillar work tools, not just for these small compact wheel loaders, but all the way up through the range and for the excavators and other machines in the Caterpillar family. Is there any other questions there? Can you use a broom with a 914 size machine? Yes, Ben, you can. So we have a BA25 and BP25 broom. Again, I'll teach you how to fish. So if you come here and you go into attachments, you'll be able to scroll down. These are alphabetical. So if we come down here, you'll see brooms. These brooms will come up. Once we get into the broom section, you have the option of picking the type of broom, or you have the option of picking the type of machine. So if I click on wheel loaders, you will see the different brooms coming up. So for the 906, 7, and 8 brooms, I would recommend these smaller brooms. When you get to the larger machines, the BA25 or BP25 would be the ones that you would want to pick. So these are available. They are available for our CATS part systems, and they are readily available and in stock. Limit switchings. So Craig, I'm not sure specifically what the limit switches you're talking about. On the rotary sensors on the 914, 918 size, you can limit the rotation and the position of the loader arms, so you can set those positions. What I'll do is I'll take that offline, and I'll get back to you if we need to add some more some comments on that. Does the 906 need AdBlue? Very good question, Alex. So AdBlue is a urea additive that you need to add to some cars, trucks, and off-road construction equipment, depending on the type of after treatment that you have to meet the emissions. So on construction equipment, anything with less than 55 kilowatts does not need to have the AdBlue technology. So the 906, 7, and 8 are all just below 55 kilowatts. So we just have a DPF, diesel particulate filter, for the stage 5 engines in the regulated countries, and the lesser regulated countries also do not need AdBlue. They have a DOC muffler exhaust system, which does not need AdBlue either. Oh, limits on the bushes. So from a maintenance perspective, all the pins and bushes in the loader linkage, there are limits and fits, and in the operator maintenance manual and the service manuals, there'll be details on how and when you should change your bushes for the amount of wear that you're getting on those pins. I fully recommend using cat grease. There's specific grades of grease that you can pick that maximize the life of your pins and bearings. Have a look at that in the operator manuals. And again, after this, I'll go into that detail with you. What jobs are these machines best suited for? So these machines are the smallest in our loader range. At the beginning, I showed the large machines to the small machines. The larger machines are designed for specific applications. They're in mining, they're in log and lumber yards, they're doing certain specific things all day, every day, and that's what they do. On these smaller machines, we design these machines to be able to take into account any application. So the 906, 7, and 8, for those machines, we see them very heavily used in construction and road building, either clearing up, tidying up, moving materials around. Also, we have the options of adding brooms for cleaning up. We also see them in agriculture a lot. The cab roof height on the 906 is low enough to get into most barns. They can drive into shipping containers to be able to move material in and out of shipping containers. So I guess we are the jack of all trades on these machines. You can add configurations to them and options to them to make them more specific for an application. Like when you get into the 920 size, for example, we get a lot of success in waste and recycling. You can add options on there. You can add counterweights. You can add features to it to enable you to work in the small indoor recycling centers. But at the same time, that same machine could be used for snow removal with snow blowers or with snow plows. And so we have lots of applications that you can work with these. And when you go onto the YouTube site or the cat.com site that I'll post the links in later, you'll see a whole host of applications with the machines working, so you can see for yourself. Good question, Becky. Hey, sir, so you're talking about the engine emissions. For these, we are stage 5 engines. So we don't have the ACER technology in the some of the larger Caterpillar engines have. It's just something we don't need from a emissions perspective on these engines. Okay, well, I thank you for your time today. I will dial out in a minute and I will go through any of the other questions or comments in the chat history, and I will make sure we post back some quick responses to those. I'll also make sure I add in a few links to our YouTube channels of cat.com that we looked at today. Feel free to share and like and spread the news about the Caterpillar range of compact wheel loaders. What I would say is, although you spent time with me today, what I'd like to do is point out that next week we have 3 sessions, one on soil compactors, one on our next gen excavators, and one on our range of Caterpillar telehandlers. So please look out for those on YouTube, and feel free to log in and see what my colleagues have to talk about with those. So thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for your time. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.